Hi, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Meg. And this is Ger Can Get It. This week, Rachel, do you know what kids love? They love Shakespeare and family drama and corporate espionage.
And Dracula.
And Dracula.
If they gave awards for makeouts on screen or stage, this guy would get a lifetime achievement. He'll find any excuse to get right, to suck and face. You honestly wouldn't believe it. Dissecting each and every kiss with tongue. There's only one conclusion to come to. It's that Ger can get it. Ger can get it.
This week, we're talking about Dracula the series from
1990. So this predates Forever Night.
This does. This is his first foray into vampirism.
And he still does the same stupid fang thing where he keeps his mouth half open every time he has fangs in. He's always like, ah.
Look, he's got to show off his moneymaker. And his moneymaker are the fangs and those lips. So he's got to show it for the people. I love this stupid show so fucking much. So this week, before we get into it too much, we will be discussing the entire series of Dracula the series from 1990. If you Google Dracula the series, you're looking for the 1991 for children, made by a Canadian company in Luxembourg. You're not looking for the 2023, 2024 British Dracula. So just look for the right one. But so we're discussing the entire series, but because it's 21 episodes, we're going to discuss the first 7 episodes this week, and then the remaining 14 next week. Because Ger's in the first 7, he's in the last 7. He's not really in the middle, so we'll just kind of yada yada through the middle, and then we'll get to the end. So this week, Dracula the series.
We'll get to the important episodes.
The important ones, yeah.
The ones with Klaus.
Well, it's funny to me that this show is it's very much of the time, and that most of the episodes, they don't relate to each other. They're all standalone, except for the Ger episodes, which make a beautiful little arc.
They do. They
love
do
it.
somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I watched a little bit of this, and then you were like, wait, no, we're going to wait, we'll watch it another time. So I paused it. And then I was rewatching it for this, and I was like, dang, I forgot how in the 1990s, we couldn't figure out appropriate stakes for a children's show. So it's Dracula full on murders a lady in the first 5 minutes of the first episode, but it's also, haha, these plucky kids are going to thwart Dracula.
Yeah, I like how this show, it's ostensibly aimed at 6 to 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
And then they're just what if we throw in some corporate espionage and some heartrending drama, and then we go back to plucky children? And I was the tone is so all over the place.
There's plucky children, and then there's legitimate stakes. Sometimes Dracula's oh, you plucky kids, you got me again. Sometimes he's I'm going to murder you in your bed while you sleep.
Yes.
And there's
it is so good. It is so good.
My children would be
so
terrified watching this.
Oh,
They'd
yeah.
be
No, this would mess up
terrified.
actual kids. Although I remember being aware of this when I was so let's see, 1990, I would have been 3. I certainly didn't I'm sure I didn't watch it when I was 3, but it was on, in reruns and stuff. So I remember seeing it when I was 5 or 6 or 8 or 9. I remember really I like the stuff. I wish we had more ooh, spooky kids shows. I fucking love it. And now as an adult, I'm oh, hey, Jordy Johnson. Hey. Turns out I'm into that a little bit.
Is that
Hey,
your accent? What accent do you have?
So that is, okay, so I feel a little bit bad, but so the first thing I've ever seen Jordy Johnson in was this, and I was oh, he's doing Dracula voice. But I've now seen him, and he does a cameo in Forever Night, which you discussed, I think, on your Come in 81 Kilo.
Yeah, my boyfriend is a vampire. And isn't he the flame-throwing guy in...
Yes, he also is, yeah.
The Fire Inside, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though I don't think... Do we ever see his face in that? But it's him. It's
we
him playing the role and
it's
him doing
him,
the voice. So
but
it's
we
him.
don't see... It's... Yeah, he's not... He's credited, but he's just the dragon or whatever. We don't ever see his face.
And then he also recently, so he still acts. He's been in some stuff, but I was watching. There was a limited series from a couple of years ago that aired on FX, and you can see it on Hulu, and it's called Mrs. America. So there's a limited series about Phyllis Schlafly, who led the charge to essentially not pass the Women's Rights Act. So she's terrible and she sucks. But anyways, so he's in it as some U.S. senator. And so I haven't finished the series, but like my understanding is he's only in like this one episode as this one senator. And it's really like a very brief cameo. Like it's 5 minutes of him interacting with like some female staff members, and then like you never see him again. He still kind of has the exact same voice is the thing. Like he is doing an accent in Dracula the series, but like also like his underlying voice
is just the same.
It's also a Dracula voice. So
it's just, not a bad accent. I just don't know what it is. And he always kind of sounds like there's something in his mouth, like he's chewing gum between takes and he just stuffs it down in the corner of his mouth.
He just always sounds a little bit like Dracula, like he just came from the darkest heart of Eastern Europe. But like, he's Canadian. He's from Canada. He's like, I feel bad, but like, yeah, I can't figure out like what this accent is, but like he's not from somewhere else. He's from North America. Okay, so Geordie Johnson is from Claresholm, Alberta, or possibly Clare's Home, Alberta. He's from Alberta. Geordie Johnson is from Alberta. He's not from like Lithuania. He's from Alberta. I don't know why he sounds this way. But he is doing an accent for Dracula, but like he just makes his normal Dracula voice a little more Dracula-ish. And actually, so you and I were hoping to see there was a play in New York that closed, I think, in January, and it was called Dracula: A Comedy of Terrors. And there's a Canadian actor in that. James Patrick Daly is, I think, his name. He's actually going to be in the Stratford Festival this summer. We're going to see this actor in La Cage aux Folles. So I'm really excited about that. But we were hoping to see Dracula, and we just, things just didn't work out for us to see Dracula. But there's some video clips of him online, and he's like a young, super muscly, very muscly, a young blonde Canadian actor.
Just so many muscles.
He's like, I don't know how to explain. He's one of those guys that's like with a shirt on, you're like, oh, he's very tall and like very thin. But the second his shirt comes off, somehow he has like an 8-pack. It's like where it's like a weird optical illusion.
It's like a stealth thirst trap.
You're not wrong. But anyway, so like there's some clips of him on Instagram for the Dracula play. And he's doing this accent where I was like, oh, he's doing a Geordie Johnson. Like he's doing the Geordie Johnson Dracula accent. But like he may also just be doing Geordie Johnson's regular voice, frankly. Anyway, so like anytime I see a blonde Dracula, I'm like, oh, shout out to Geordie. I love it.
Yeah.
So anyways, if anyone hasn't seen a picture of young Geordie Johnson, like just look it up. It's fine. It's not weird. It's fine.
It's
fine.
What
it's there for.
Yeah.
It's cool. So this series,
it's perfectly normal.
It's not weird, Mom. It's not weird.
Weird, okay.
Oh, shout out to Drew John. Like, I wish he were in more stuff. Like, he's
like,
I don't know.
This is our litany for all of these actors. Like, why weren't they in more stuff? I would have watched all of it.
For everyone except for John Kapelos, because like John Kapelos is like, I will be in every fucking thing. Like, bam.
Yeah.
I love it. So, the basic premise of the show. First off, I like, because it's the 90s, like, are all the actors Canadian? Yes, they are. Are they playing American because you couldn't be Canadian on television in the 90s? Also yes. True. Yeah. So the basic premise of the show is that there is Eileen Townsend and her two teen sons, Max, who is
he's 10.
He's 10.
He's 10. Yeah.
I'm not great at details or focusing.
Well, we talk about that in the episode where he dates an adult woman.
We're gonna get there.
Okay.
We're going to get there because, the 90s.
They're like, he's 10. Things are happening. He's growing up. And I'm like, he's 10. Okay.
You put on a tie. He's a man now.
Yeah.
So Eileen, with her sweet 1990 curly and somehow like pointy hair. So we've got her two sons, Max Townsend, who's 10, like you said, and Chris Townsend, who I think he's like 16-ish.
Yeah.
Like older
like that. 14, 15, I think.
Yeah. They moved from Philly. We know where they're from because they mentioned Philly like a whole bunch.
And she works for the Philadelphia Bank.
Yes. Yeah. And they moved to Europe.
Europe.
They will never get any more specific, but this thing was filmed in Luxembourg. And what I think is really funny is if you see like containers of milk and stuff, it'll be in French. It'll say lait on the side instead of like milk or I don't know what milk is in German, but German milk. So it'll say that in French. But then everyone, when they refer to like a man, it's always Herr or whatever, like Herr Schmidt or whatever.
And Gustav is always eating schnitzel.
Yes. Yeah. So the show is sort of like, I don't know, what do we think about Europe? I don't know, it's sort of French and sort of German. Perfect. And they just like switch between
it's fine.
And everyone has a British accent because
everyone has an American. Oh yeah, all the foreign people have British accents.
I guess half of them have British accents, and the other half have like generic North American accents. I like it. I like that they were like, it's kids, it's 1990, they don't give a shit,
and no one cares.
And that's kind of the same tack they took for like vampire lore. Like any vampire's powers, like history and stuff. It like changes episode by episode. Like they don't give a shit because they're like, well, our audience is 6. They're not going to remember.
Yeah, whatever works for this time. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. But the basic premise is, so mom and the 2 kids, they move to Europe for mom's job because, like you said, mom works for this bank in Philadelphia and she does something unspecified with banking. And so obviously you have to move to Europe.
Well, that way, when she travels abroad, she'll be able to see them, except she straight up abandons them with her Uncle Klaus.
Yeah, she only shows up every like 4 episodes to be like, oh, do I have kids?
She's like, hey, putting him a FaceTime. See y'all later. And then she's like...
She will show up more in the second 2/3, but only as like a plot device, which I think is really funny. Like, they're like, oh, we have to save mom. And I'm like, do you?
Do you?
Mom's never around.
She's not directly involved in your care in any way, so...
Yeah. Is she your mother? Could you pick her out of a crowd? Because she can't pick you out of a crowd, let's be honest. So they move in with their uncle Gustav, and it's like, he is significantly older than the mother, and it doesn't like, it's not like mom's brother Gustav. It sort of feels like he's their great uncle, and they just call him uncle.
Everyone calls him Uncle Gustav.
Yeah. Yeah, even people in like the town.
Even their little friend, who's the girl that just inexplicably lives there? Sophie. Yeah, she calls him Uncle
Sophie
Gustav.
Metternich. Yeah. So they move in with Uncle Gustav. There is a teenage girl living there. Her name is Sophie Metternich. And I think if I remember correctly, she's like staying with him, like she's studying in insert name of town where they lived, which I don't think we ever know.
While she's at school.
Yeah.
While she's at school.
So she's studying there. So
yeah.
Although you never see her like leave for any kind of a
class.
I know
she doesn't do anything. Yeah.
No. Is this supposed to be the summer? Maybe it's the summer. Maybe that's why. But then why wouldn't she have gone to her family home? It's fine. It's fine. Like the lore doesn't matter.
It's fine. It's all the rules are all made up and the game doesn't matter. It's just fine.
You're there for school, so just don't come back until you're done with schooling. Is there more
never,
schooling?
Never come back.
Come home. No schnitzel for you. So like we said, the plot doesn't matter. So we learn that Max is like super into the supernatural. Like before he even moves to Europe, he's like super into it. And then Uncle Gustav, we find out his name is Gustav Helsing.
Yeah.
Not Van Helsing. I don't know why. He's just Gustav Helsing.
Yeah.
And we find out that he is a vampire hunter. And we find out that the wealthiest man in town, essentially, whose name is Alexander Lucard, which is Dracula backwards. So it's very creative. I like how he's like, no one will suspect me. It's like, sorry. So we find out that the wealthiest man in town is actually Dracula. And he doesn't just want to like, he's not a Ger vampire. He doesn't just want to like bite and fuck women. No, he has grander plans.
Yeah.
So he wants to like take over the world with his corporations. He has many corporations all over the world.
Yeah, he's a billionaire and he's trying to destroy the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
With corporations, which you could have just waited like 30 years, my dude. Like you would have been you and Elon Musk, you would have been best friends.
Yeah.
But yeah. What's
Elon Musk backwards?
Oh my God. Like Nosferatu just like appears behind me and it's Elon Musk. He's like, you're on to me. And then the audio feed just goes dead. Oh my God. I look forward to our cease and desist from Elon Musk. I am not a vampire.
Is it an anagram? What's his middle name?
Stop jinxing me. You're going to like, I should just turn off the camera right now.
That's my favorite episodes when Nosferatu shows up just to fuck with Dracula. It's like, what is happening?
We will get there very shortly.
People died. Hundreds of people died.
They keep like this is just like you said, the stakes in this show are either nothing or all the stakes. It's very weird. So most of the episodes are just Dracula versus Gustav and the children. And we learned some Dracula facts, we learned some lore, but like it's all the weirdest. Like it's like someone was vaguely aware of like vampire lore that they had like read once in a book on a toilet on an airplane, and then just went, I got it. I don't need it. Yeah, I don't need to look anything up. So like,
yeah, and sometimes we'll just make shit up, like the poppy seeds thing. Well, there's counting. They have to count
the counting,
them. Yeah.
Because I remember as a kid, obviously I had several books of child-friendly vampire lore because that's who I am. And I remember there being a thing where it's like, oh, like vampires, they have to count stuff. If you throw something on the ground, they like have to count however many like things you throw on the ground.
Yeah.
So that's where I thought they were going. And then the show's like, nah, they really think poppy seeds are delicious. And I was like, vampires can eat in this universe? Like, and also they're like compelled, like
once.
Well, and like the worst part, okay, so we learn about the lore that they're super into eating poppy seeds, that they are compelled, if there are poppy seeds like around them, they're compelled to eat. And so like, if you liked your actors, I feel like what you would do is just like have there be a bag of poppy seeds and then have Dracula be like, oh, I have to eat it, and then get the kid out of the room because the kid has the bag of poppy seeds. But I don't know who Jordy Johnson pissed off that day, because the way that they film it is that the kid Max goes into Dracula's office like not knowing he's a vampire because he thinks his uncle Gustav is actually the vampire, because Gustav is like giving them vampire facts, and the kid's like, how would he know unless he's a vampire? And I'm like, that's a terrible fucking plan. Like, let me tell you all about how vampires are, and then like do all the things I just told you about and hope you don't like put two and two together. Like, anyways.
Right.
So the kid's like, you know who's going to help me with vampires? Random businessman. I'm just going to go on my bike to this guy's corporate office and or castle. And we'll yak about vampires, and he'll help me kill my great uncle. It's fine. He goes to this guy's, normal. So he goes to this guy's office. He's got his bag of poppy seeds and he drops it. And he's like, oh no. And Dracula's like, I have a phone call. You need to go into the hallway right now. And the kid's like, okay, all right. I'm sorry. I spilled all my poppy seeds. Bye. So he goes into the hallway, and then Jordy Johnson has to go on all fours on the carpet and like hoover up poppy seeds. Like, I think he's scooping them into his mouth, but like I think at one point it's just,
they're not even poppy seeds. They're sunflower seeds, because they keep calling them poppy seeds, and he's like, what? Poppy seeds? Because the kid's eating them. And I'm like, nobody eats poppy seeds. Poppy seeds are like really little tiny.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah. Who should we write the letter to?
I don't know. Somebody. How could you'd have to like, no.
I know. But so, but he's got these very large seeds.
It's usually grains of rice. I think it's from the Chinese vampires, and you throw down grains of rice.
Oh, the hopping ones? I've heard of the counting thing in Europe. Maybe the eating, is it eating grains of rice that's for the Chinese ones?
No, they're counting.
Or just counting again?
I've never heard I have to eat. I know.
They made shit up. They made the show didn't give a shit. The show gave negative shits, and then when Ger came, they gave all the shits. It's my favorite part.
They were saving the shit.
They had a little bag marked shits, and then Ger showed up, and they were like, 1 second, and they open it up very carefully. Okay, so they make, the first thing of lore we learn is that they have to eat poppy seeds. They're like compelled, but like you said, they're not poppy seeds, they're sunflower seeds, they're huge. And so the kid spills the seeds on the ground, and Dracula's like, I have a phone call, you can't be here, go into the hallway. So as soon as the kid leaves, they make poor Jordy Johnson go on all fours on the floor and like lick seeds off the fucking carpet. And I was like, oh no, oh, that's so gross.
They're like, do it again, Jordy.
Because like at one point I think he does like scoop them. I know. We didn't get it this time. We didn't have any film in our camera.
Oh shit, I forgot to hit record. Do it again.
Yeah. Jordy, you're gonna be the star of this whole TV show. Ready? Okay. Lick shit off the carpet, motherfucker. The poor man. And he sells it, but like, this brings up my second what the fuck of this show, because so they have him go face first on the carpet like a truffle hog with truffles, and he looks up and he's vamped out. But every single episode through this entire series, they change what vamped out means. Sometimes twice in one episode. So I feel like I've seen this in other vampire properties before, and I know that in the Nick Knight movie they do this also. But I know I've seen this in other vampire things where there's like not just one stage of vampirism. Do you know what I mean? There's like normal face, and then there's like I'm halfway there face, and then there's like face, and then like they have like multiple. So in other like shows where they do that, I feel like they make it clear like I'm a vampire and I'm like a little turned on, so like maybe I have fangs but no eyes, or like I'm a vampire and I'm like turning into a vampire and I'm trying to like I haven't gone full vampire, and so I only have like some vampire like facial situation going on. But like in this, they're like, I don't know, it's a Tuesday and the makeup girl's not here.
Yeah,
so your makeup's
so-
different today, man.
Black eyes and fangs, black eyes and fangs.
So sometimes they make him pale, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they give him yellow contacts that look sort of like Forever Night, where the only yellow is the iris. Sometimes I swear, and like maybe it's just my my bad quality recordings, but sometimes it looks like even the whites of his eyes are yellow, like it's like a full
It's a
scleral
really
yellow thing.
large contact. Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes it looks like it's just the iris. So I think there's two different sets of contacts, and then sometimes every time he has fangs, they give the Forever Night fangs a run for their money, and Forever Night has like the biggest vampire fangs in the whole business. So these are like walrus tusks. These are huge.
They are
Poor
huge.
Jordy. I don't know how anybody could talk with these things.
And
they're
he
enormous.
does.
He does a good job.
Well, and he has to do
Yeah.
it often. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no lisp or anything. Like he is just like A+ man. So so he's got the giant fangs always. His contacts are either black or small yellow or big yellow. And then sometimes he's pale, sometimes he's not pale. And then sometimes when they really fucking hate him, they do sort of a precursor to like the Buffy vampire eyebrow, but they don't go full. You know how on Buffy they look like they're making like frowny eyes, like they're like what would you call that? Like they're pushing their eyebrows together to make like
their
that little
forehead
eyebrow
is
crease.
wrinkled. Yeah.
Yeah, wrinkly forehead. Yeah. So, but they don't go full all the way. Instead, they land at drag queen who has not finished her makeup look, which is to say, they just take away his eyebrows.
Oh, bless.
Just take away his eyebrows, and like sometimes they give him like a little teeny tiny like Star Trek like ridge where his eyebrows used to be, but they don't go full all the way like Buffy, and it just looks like a drag queen who you cut like right in the middle, and she was like, what? And she like didn't get her brows done, and they're like, you're on stage, and she was like, okay. It's just this poor man, because Jordy Johnson would have been, so he was what, 1953 is what we said, so what's that? So 63, 73, 83, so 37.
He's younger than me in this. Holy shit.
Oh God. He was
shit.
So handsome. Not that he's like not handsome now. He's a grown adult man and not a baby like we are in our mid-30s. So he was super hot, and in every single thing. So if he's in his office, he's got 1990s businessman attire, which is to say a suit with suspenders, which it turns out I'm into now. It turns out. So
New kink unlocked.
That's fine. I know. It's terrible. It's fucking terrible.
You have acquired suspenders. Shit. No, God damn it. Put it back in the drawer.
Like it turns out like I don't like all the weird 90s shit that like as we watch this, I'm like, oh hello. Hi, daddy. So I'm like super into the suspenders now. But like also when he's not wearing his 1990 I'm a tough like late 80s businessman look, when he doesn't have that, he has on full Dracula evening wear look, which sometimes involves like a Dracula-esque cape on top, but like normally it's just him wearing a black tuxedo with a white bow tie, and it's one of the tuxedos that has like, it's like a morning suit tuxedo with like tails in the back. And again, in real life, the only time I've ever seen anyone wear a morning suit in real life, I was like, this looks dumb and costumey, like it's really stupid. But it turns out in Dracula the series, I'm like, oh, hey, what's up? Hey.
All right, it's fine. I like the capes, the capes with the collars.
My favorite part is, I think it's only in the first episode where they have him in the suit. They are going to have the cape, but they don't have the cape yet. But they still have him doing gestures as though he is wearing a cape, but he's like swinging an invisible cape. And no, because so in this series, so like we said, there's the poppy seed thing, which only appears in the first episode, as far as I'm aware. It may appear in the later 14, but I don't think it does. So he's got the poppy seed thing, and then also in this, he can turn into a bat, one singular bat, but like when he's doing the transformation, like a whole flock of bats, a whole what's the word for a whole colony? A whole colony of bats will like appear out of nowhere. And then when he flies off, he's just one bat. It's like a whole bunch of like sympathy bats show up, and then he's just the one. So
yeah, and sometimes he's just sparkles and he teleports.
He does have sparkles. I love this show so much, because they were like, I don't know, what do you feel like today? I don't know, sparkles.
And it literally makes a tinkling sound when he teleports. It's like, and and he like appears.
I like that. I like that when he and Ger want to teleport together, they have to do figure skating poses. Like I love this show.
coordinated, like where they spin together and they like land and they're both in the same direction, the same pose.
It is. The only thing it's missing is ta-da. Like every time they do it, like just in your head, here, ta-da. It's so good. But when he does, okay, but like normally when they do that, normally when they do the like, I'm going to turn into a bat thing, what they do is they spin around. So they spin around in a circle, and when they've completed their revolution, now they're a bat.
Like Wonder Woman.
But yeah, exactly like Wonder Woman. But like what they're doing is, so they always have one arm, like I think it's the right arm, out as though they're holding a cape, and they like swing the cape around themselves to turn into a bat is the idea. And so like all the later times, I think most of the later times, they have like an actual cape there to complete like the illusion. But the first time they're just like, Jordy, we don't have a cape yet. So they just make him hold his arm out like it's a cape and like waggle it around a little bit like there's a cape there. And like spin his empty arm around himself. It was like, oh sir, oh you're just adorable. What is happening? I love this so much. Oh, I love this. But like you said, like sometimes Jordy Johnson is fucking terrifying in this. Like, yes. I am an adult of his age, and I'm like, oh shit, is he going to eat this child? Is he going to murder this kid?
Yeah, well, he kills somebody within the first 5 minutes. Like, we have that couple walking down the street, and then there's the jump scare where the cop shows up, and she's like, y'all need to go to bed. There could be somebody out. And then she turns to walk away, and he's like, oh, hello. Like,
my favorite part of that is like the police officer is acting like that couple are like horny teenagers and there's a curfew, but they're fully like also adults in their 30s and 40s. And she's like, don't make out in the streets. And they're like, oh, okay, officer. And I was like, what? What is happening in Luxembourg?
Well, the one lady's like, I can't go home. My mom won't understand, or I don't want to explain to my mom or whatever. And you're like, okay, that's fine. I don't know what's happening here. I don't know why you're worried.
This makes me extra sad. Man, the cops won't let you make out in the street. Like your elderly mother won't let you make out at home. Like why does Luxembourg want to cockblock this lady so bad?
Well, because everybody's dying of vampirism like every episode.
Well, it's interesting. So like they do establish in this episode that if you're bitten by a vampire, like you will eventually become a vampire, but there's like an in-between period where like maybe you're just sort of a mindless slave.
A Renfield.
Yeah, it's kind of how I interpreted that. And sometimes being bitten by a vampire is like a death sentence that can't be fixed.
That'll change.
And or you need to drink a magic potion, and that's the only thing that'll fix it. But sometimes if you just rub some holy water in your little neck holes and like give it like 10 minutes to dry, you are A-okay, you're good.
You're good. You'll be fine. Yeah.
So like it changes like in each episode.
You could also be cured by love.
Yes. Yeah. Doesn't that happen? That happens in the later 2/3, doesn't it? With Sophie, or does that happen? Is there one?
I watched a little bit ahead.
Oh, how dare you? I mean, that's fine. I've seen most of these so many times because I love them so fucking much. But yeah, it's like you said, the game is made up and the rules don't matter.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like, there's like other like
the Magyar cross.
I was gonna say the other big thing. Yeah. So there's this giant. Like
the biggest MacGuffin
in Uncle Gustav's house. It's
yeah.
I like that it lights up. So there's this big cross in Uncle Gustav's house. It's called the Cross of the Magyars. It protects the entire house. This thing doesn't ever have to be re-blessed. It's like good from the get-go. And it's just a big wooden cross, but like I guess they had a little extra something in the special effects budget. So sometimes lightning shoots out of it. Sometimes it lights up like it's made of neon. It will come into play in the later 2/3 of the series. It becomes like a big deal. But like in terms of like things that like follow through the whole series, it's pretty much just the Cross the Magyars, because like everything else in the series changes except our boy Ger. Our boy Ger and Klaus Helsing is like the only through plot for the entire series. The rest of it is just Dracula wants to take over the world. These plucky children will stop him, like whatever.
Yeah.
But then you have Klaus, who is so fucking heartbreaking in this show for children.
I know.
So good. So Ger pops up. I can tell you.
Ger was like, can I bring it? And they were like, permission to bring it granted.
You know what this show is missing? A horny badass who likes to recite Shakespeare. And Ger was like, oh my God, it's me.
It's funny story. Someone even describes him. Oh, that's later. That's later. Someone even describes him as like 30-something, really attractive. That's not till later.
Did I miss that? Okay, I was gonna say like I normally keep copious notes when everyone calls Ger a super hot whatever he is in every episode.
It's not because, of course,
So-
I skipped to the last episode because I am who I am. So in the last episode, the mom describes him. He's like, "Oh yeah, that guy. His name is Klaus. He's like 30 something, extremely handsome." And you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, there it is."
check.
Yeah.
The mom character is so weirdly disappointing. Like they use her like just a plot object. It's very strange. But she shows up in the first episode to be like, "Hi, we live in Europe now. Bye. I have to go to Madrid." And then she pops up again in the first 7 episodes to become a sexy vampire girlfriend for Dracula for about 10 minutes. And then, oh no, you're right. The love, the kid's love, Max's love for her is so strong that she basically like is fighting herself emotionally so much that she just passes out on some stairs. She's like, "Eat my child, love my child. Eat my child, love my child. I guess I'm going to faint." And then she passes out. And then not a vampire anymore. It's fine. It's just, you just got to be loved so strongly. If you become a vampire.
Yeah. She goes full Janet and Bob.
Oh, she does.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Except that Jeanette became human by the magic power of that dick. So
Yeah. Well, that would have been inappropriate. So
not that the show, as you said, not that the show shies away from being inappropriate with children, but we'll get there in like a hot second.
Yeah.
But so the Ger episodes, so he first shows up in episode 3, I believe, which is called The Vampire Solution. And if anyone wants to watch this, you can buy the DVD with everything on it. I think it's like $19.99 on Amazon. Or I'm just going to say, maybe you go to YouTube and type in Dracula, the series, and I don't know, see what pops up. Like, maybe you'll get lucky.
It could be there.
Yeah,
you definitely have been there for the last 8 years.
There are fully 2 separate accounts that have every single. I mean, possibly. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who could say? So he's in episode 3, The Vampire Solution, and then he pops up again in episode 6 called Black Sheep. Okay, so oh my god, this is so good. I love the Ger arc. I love it so much. So he shows up. He's not like tortured vampire.
Oh no.
Nick Knight. He's horny, young, hair slicked, hair glued to the top of his head.
Shellacked, one might
so
say.
Hot. It looks like if you knocked on it, you would hear like a hollow sound. Like it looks hard.
Yeah.
His body also looks hard in this. I'm just gonna say. So he's wearing It is so good. So he also gets to wear a tuxedo, but for whatever fucking reason, they were like, okay, we want to distinguish his look from Dracula's look, and Dracula gets the little white bow tie. So they're like, I don't know, what about if Ger wears a shirt with a Nehru-collar? And I was like, the fuck? What? Like, I mean, it looks
fine. Sometimes he wears a tie with it.
Well, that's how you know he's evil, because what have we established? If he's got facial hair or a tie, then he's a bad guy.
He's a bad guy.
So it's nice that when he's wearing his 90s suit realness, they're like, you're a dick in this, we have to have you wear a tie. And Ger's like, that is the way. That is how people know.
He's like, it's fair. It's entirely fair.
Yeah, that's how the audience knows if they should be weirded out by their sexual attraction to me. It's the clue for them that I leave them. It's just a little thing I do. So we love this show. So okay, so the first time Ger shows up, we don't know what his relation is to anybody, except we know that he's a vampire. He's like Dracula's number 2, and he starts doing the thing that Ger always does, where he recites Shakespeare because he has to. He's compelled. So anytime that anyone else recites Shakespeare, Ger's character's whole thing is to immediately correct them. Yeah. And I didn't look up whether Ger is correct. The show makes me feel that like Ger's character would be the one to know the correct, like line citation for whatever anyone else is saying. But like, I don't know. I didn't actually look it up because I'm not good at my job, you guys. I'm sorry.
It's fine. Or he makes it more specific, which I like. When they'll be like Henry VIII or whatever, Act 2, Scene 5, and he'll be like line 12.
Yeah, but it's always like to correct them. So for whatever reason, okay. So Ger knocks out Gustav in the 3rd episode. He brings him to the castle. Again, there's like nothing to indicate that Ger is going to be, spoiler alert, Gustav's son. It's just he's a rando vampire and he knocks out the old man, drags him to the castle. Dracula starts reciting Shakespeare. And Gustav is like, oh yeah, you're citing Henry V. And because he's a cool old man in the 90s, he's like, or Hank Sank. And I was like, oh, sir. Okay. Everyone gets one. You got your one. So then Ger's like, you're both fucking wrong. Ger's like, it's Henry VI, part 1, act 1, scene 1, line 1. And then he goes, I wrote this down. He's talking to his father, to Gustav, who at this point we don't know is his dad. He goes, you've always been wrong. A foolish old man sniffing around things you'll never understand. And he goes like full on Shakespeare. Like,
this scene was nutballs.
Yeah. It's like, everyone else in this is like, we're in a children's show. We're getting paid in schnitzel and pivo and in like Czech beer. So like we're going to show up for an hour. We're going to do what we're going to do. We're going to wear a funny suit and then we're going to go like take a smoke break.
Yeah.
Ger's like, fuck all of you. I am an actor. And it's like what we talked about in that previous episode where it's like the acting light, like he turns it all the way up to like 14 and breaks the knob and throws the knob away. So it's like, wow, 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 wow. Just like all the way. So,
well, this is the scene where it's him and Jordy and the guy who plays Klaus, and they're alone and there's no kids. And they're
the
like,
guy who plays the dad. Yeah.
They're like, do we go hard? And they're like, yeah, we fucking go hard.
That's why I love this show. When the kids are on screen, it's like, oh, Scooby-Doo mystery. When the kids are not on screen, it's like corporate espionage and family trauma. And I'm like, what? What? How is this on television? How is this not still on television? I want 53-year-old Dracula. I want, or no, I guess he's in his like 70s. I want 70-year-old Dracula. I want 67-year-old Klaus. I want the corpse of Bernard Behrens, who played Gustav. Like, I want it all. I love them so much. It's like, did you know you were in a show for children? And they're like, fuck it, we're here to do Shakespeare. And they do it. They go so hard. Like, it's melodrama, but it's not like over the, like, it's just, you're like, oh, you're like compelled. I was like, what? What is this?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. So yeah. So Ger's immediately like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to go up to fucking 14. Are you guys ready? And like all the cameramen, like all their cameras exploded. It's so good. So Ger basically is just, his character is just sort of like petulant. I feel like in the first couple episodes, he's like a whiny teen who also is a great Shakespearean actor. And then I think after this, they're like, what if he's Gustav's son? Everyone's like, yes. Oh, so good. So Ger calls the old man boring, and Gustav is like, well, at least I'm not a blood-sucking thug. And I'm like, oh, okay. So they've got their little sassy relationship. It's a whole thing, but like he just is mostly just like introduced in this episode. Like you don't really care. We find out that the Cross of the Magyars. We find out that if you drink the magic turn you from vampire into a human potion and you're like a plucky 10-year-old boy, it gives you magic lightning fingers.
Yes, correct. For now, so it's fine.
There's a bunch of scenes of this little 10-year-old kid doing like full on like spirit fingers at Ger
like
and
Palpatine.
Dracula.
He's going full on like
Palpatine.
Yeah.
And so Ger and Jordy also sell it. So they go from full on Shakespeare, like dramatic monologues, to having to do like full body convulsions and like dance like 3 inches backwards every time the kid points his fingers at them. And I was like, what is it? I just need everyone to stop listening to this and go and watch this program because it was so, so good. And as you and I just found out, if you go to draculatheseries.net, I think is what the website is, there is a current, at least as of like October 2023, a semi-current fan petition for this show to be revived and like continued with like a fan written season 2 of this show. And I just like, I would be happy and sad if Forever Night like were rebooted. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like it wouldn't be with the same actors, and it would have to like either retcon the finale or it would have to like have like a whole new story but like the same characters. I'd feel a little bit sad.
It would have to be a complete reboot, like from the beginning, restart.
Yeah. If Dracula the series gets a second season, like I will whatever I need to do. Like I am so 100%, I'm 155% in for all of this. Like I need this to happen. This show, I've been sitting on this cliffhanger since I was like 8. Like I just like I am so
I mean, with the way they wrap it up, you could, because they disappear into time and space.
Yes. Yeah. This is the show. This show is so good. So the kid has lightning fingers. And we end up finding out that like the Ger and Dracula relationship. Like Ger is basically like the gopher for Dracula. But Ger's character like just wants to fuck around. And I was like Ger playing a fuckboy? Like what?
Yeah. But Dad, I want to terrorize the countryside. Dracula's like, we don't do that anymore. He's like, well, I do. You're lame.
Yeah, I love
don't know
how
what the
like
fuck's
every
wrong with you.
episode, Dracula straight up like finds some random man or woman in the middle of this Luxembourgian town.
Yeah.
Straight up just murders them and tosses their corpse in a field. And then when Ger is like fucking through the entire countryside, Dracula's like, no, you're a little much. No.
Yeah. Can you be less? And he's like, I refuse to be less.
Yeah.
And then they quote Romeo and Juliet at each other and show each other their fangs and then skip off into the next room.
There is a slight homoerotic relationship between there's always like between Ger and his vampire maker, there's always like a slight there's like a soupçon, there's like a hint of I fuck this guy definitely. Like it's just but you're right. So that's at the end of episode 3. So we have Ger and Dracula and they're talking to each other. They're like finishing up the plot of the episode, which involves a computer virus. It doesn't matter, blah 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 blah.
No.
Ger is like, fighting Gustav is a dangerous, childish game. And again, like, no acknowledgement that this guy might be his dad, which Dracula knows. We find out later, like, Dracula 100% knows this guy is his dad. So they're having like a dramatic argument. And then, like you said, they recite Romeo and Juliet together, like in tandem. They recite the same lines, like they're not talking to each other. They just recite the same lines, like together. Dracula gets the citation wrong. Ger has to correct him because that's how he do. And then they do, in fact, they for no fucking reason, they just have their fangs out and they flash them at each other.
And he gets a Ger smile, like Jordy gets the like, like the I'm in on the joke smile. And then they flash fangs at each other, and then they're like, should we go hang out behind the fireplace? And they're like, yeah, I'm pretty sure we should. For half an hour to
it definitely it's sort of like in context of the show, it's like what's happening here, guys? But like it is the gayest thing I've ever seen where two men do not end up kissing. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like and especially like if you realize that like for vampires, like their teeth are like two little baby penises. So they're like mouth penis, and he's like mouth penis, and then he just
he's like, are you hard? Oh, I'm so hard. And they're like, all right, let's go off together.
I really like this show. I like this show so much. So, yeah, so Ger's characteristics are cannot stop eating women because, you know how we do.
Yeah.
Cannot stop eating women. We will find out he has a bad relationship with his dad. And if you recite Shakespeare, he's going to recite more Shakespeare at you.
Yeah.
Like those are his characteristics.
Yeah, it's a race to the Shakespeare bottom.
Oh my God, so fucking good. So we have a next episode where we have a guy who invents a gun that is that shoots concentrated sunlight basically at vampires, and the idea is that it's going to hurt them. But throughout the entire series, we see Dracula and Ger and like every other vampire walking around in the daytime having just a gay old time. Like they are great and fine. Sunlight doesn't hurt them, but this sunlight gun, when a rando vampire who doesn't matter gets shot with it, like 6 hours after he's shot, he ends up burning up from the inside. And it's like, but like actual sunlight from the sun didn't hurt them. How come concentrated sunlight?
Sunscreen. We got one line in this episode about it. He's like, thanks for inventing that sunscreen. Wink. And then like, they're done. We're done with that now. The best part of this episode is we find out that Uncle Gustav is a master of disguise. He's like James Bond.
That is true. I didn't recognize him when they had him wearing like a giant mustache. Yeah, because if Gary's
like,
somebody has to wear a giant fake mustache. This show's so dumb. I fucking love it.
He's got a hat and he's got like fake eyebrow. He's got a fake unibrow, and then he has like a mustache, and he has his like a brown wig on. He's like fully made up. Well, he's like
the 90s with everything being like SD and blurry, I had no idea. I was like, that's the same guy? I'm like squinting. I'm like, oh, I guess, yeah, sure. Just
he's a master of disguise. That's why. And then they shoot the gun at the guy, and it doesn't even work. Like it doesn't even burn his clothes. But then when Gustav holds up the two pieces of metal, it welds the pieces of metal together. He's like, shoot the metal. And he's like, what? Shoot the metal. And he shoots it and it turns it into a cross. Like, wait, hang on. It didn't even burn that guy. How can it weld the metal? But
all vampires, their imperviousness to lasers also transfers to their clothing.
Well, we do find out later that their clothing is like is affected by being owned by a vampire.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll get there in part 2 of this
I'm
amazing
sorry.
podcast series. But I remember what you're talking about. It's been a while since I've watched this with the attention to detail that is necessary for this podcast. But then we get to what I think is probably your second favorite episode, Double Darkness.
Yeah, Nosferatu.
Where Nosferatu comes in. So Nosferatu looks like he's just the same kind of vampire as Dracula. Like he's not like a different kind of thing.
His
but he's,
fangs
I think,
are a little
older.
closer.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He's got the little, the actual Nosferatu, like the little rat.
They're not both in the front. They're like on either side of his front incisors. No, they don't go full like rat teeth. They're like right on the either side of his front incisors. So they're like really close together, but they're not immediately next to each other.
But you're right. They're not the same as Dracula's fangs. But I don't think it's meant to be, you know, sometimes like there's like different kinds of vampires. There's
no, I think he's just Nosferatu.
Yeah. Yeah. And he and Dracula are apparently like mortal enemies.
Well,
they just fucking hate each other.
I mean, if we were talking about Vampire the Masquerade, Nosferatu is an entirely different clan. And then Dracula, I think, is a Ventru. So he's more of like a businessman. Politician.
Nerd. Fucking nerd. Look at you.
So we'll just go with that. We'll go with that. He doesn't look like Nosferatu, though. Like, he doesn't have the ears. He's not bald. He does look like he's unwashed.
The first time I saw him, so the actor who plays him has very pale blonde hair that's also kind of slicked back. So the first time he appeared on screen, I was like, is he bald? And then like when I watched it again, I was like, oh no, the hair's just flat. Like they just glued every vampire's hair. Everyone except for Jodie Johnson, who gets sweet 90s muffin haircut. You know what I'm talking about? Where like mushroom cut. Yeah. Yeah. So, but every other vampire gets like traditional Dracula. Here's my glue stick. There's your hair. Sorry, man. Shellacked to your skull. So, basically the idea is that Nosferatu shows up and he's a dick and he likes fucking with Dracula. So the way he fucks with Dracula is he basically ruins every company that Dracula owns and also like burns down the town where every single one of these companies is. So it's like, oh, I have a diamond mine. Well, it collapsed in South Africa.
He makes Vesuvius erupt.
Because he's fucking badass. He has incredible godlike powers somehow. So Lucard, Dracula, has a diamond mine in South Africa. So Nosferatu makes that collapse and kills all the people inside the fucking mine. Then there's a Korean computer factory. There's a fire. So I have to imagine everyone in the factory dies in a horrible fire. There's an oil tanker in the Indian Ocean that he sinks. So again, like thousands of people are dying just because Nosferatu is like, you know what? I'm bored. Fuck that guy. I was like, holy shit. And then like you said, there's he makes Vesuvius erupt and then kills. There's an entire village, I think, that he kills, right? With the
it's Dracula's villa, like his town, his holding there. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And then somehow Nosferatu also has like political powers. So there's a government in Costa Brava, which I think that's made up, right? I don't know where that is. Costa Brava.
I'm American. Yeah. I don't know geography.
No, I'm gonna say it's made up.
Isn't Africa a country?
Is this our one piss off the audience per episode? Is that what you just? Yeah. So
I am aware that there are different countries in Africa.
So he somehow gets the Costa Bravan government to nationalize all of his property there. He has a holding company in Tokyo that's under siege by a corporate raider. Because again, they were like, you know what kids love? Mergers and acquisitions. Yeah. And I'm like, what? What the fuck is it? So Shakespeare and mergers and acquisitions. Like I just no notes, just perfect. So he's like, who would do this? And then it turns out it's Nosferatu, who he had imprisoned in a tomb for 50 years. Shout out to Divya. What up? So he has imprisoned him in a tomb for 50 years. And then this lady archaeologist named Dr. Cross, who you pointed out to me, appears as a famous actress in an episode of Forever Knight.
Amateur Night.
Because everyone's got to come back. Yeah. So she in this plays a super sexy archaeologist lady. And she, I guess, accidentally popped open Nosferatu's tomb. Nosferatu makes her into a vampire. In this, I guess you can't tell if someone else is a vampire if you are a vampire, because Dracula will interact with this woman and have no idea that she's a vampire until she on him and nearly kills him, which will lead to Max and Dracula having a truce where
having to work together.
yeah, for what reason? It makes no fucking sense. Like Dracula is trying to take over the whole world. Nosferatu just kind of wants to fuck with Dracula, and Nosferatu and his archaeologist vampiress girlfriend are about to kill Dracula, and literally Dracula's like, Max, it's 2 against 1. It's unfair. And Max is like, yes, that is the law of fairness. I will help you. And I was like, the fuck? What the fuck is going on? So Max will help Dracula escape from Nosferatu. Nosferatu gets staked, but he's fine at the end of this. So it's sort of like
Yeah.
LaCroix rules. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're just so old and badass that like wooden stakes can't kill me.
I didn't want that to kill me, so it didn't kill me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lit on fire?
pretty much.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Not lit on fire.
I wasn't into it. No tagsies. I said no tagsies.
I'll be back at the end of the season.
How dare you? I fully like I don't know if there's a copy of the scripts for Dracula season 2. Like I really would love to see them. But like my deepest hope is that somewhere in Dracula season 2, Nosferatu shows up again and he's like, fuck you. Just like fire doesn't hurt me. But so
he just flies by on his hearse with like his fingers out, his hands out the window with his middle finger up, like just in the background.
Yeah. Oh my god. I love it. Yes. Yes. So we need to believe. So Nosferatu will get staked, and then he's all better at the end of the episode when his archaeologist girlfriend is dressed like a limo driver. She's driving a hearse. There's a coffin in the back where we are basically led to believe that Nosferatu is like hanging out in the coffin, even though we don't see him. And then the show uses the same effect on the hearse that they do when a vampire turns into some bats and flies away. So they make the whole thing like light up and then turn into like lightning. And so it's like, I'm sorry, Nosferatu has like a magic hearse. No one else has a magic car. Like, this is not wacky races. Like, I like that they were like, I don't know, from one episode, vampires can make cars vampires. Don't worry. What? But then, so at the end of the episode, like Dracula's like, well, you took care of my enemies, Max. I'm going to murder you. And he picks the kid up by the scruff of the neck, and he's got, I think this is one of the times he has no eyebrows, so he's extra menacing. And Max is like, but I helped you. And Dracula's like, yeah, but I'm fucking Dracula. And he's going to bite him, and then he's like, you know what? The rule of fairness. Okay, go home, drive safe. And he like waves at him goodbye. I was like, what is this show? What is it? If you took a drink anytime something totally incomprehensible happened on screen, you would die. You would die of alcohol.
This is the episode where the 10-year-old goes on a date with the adult woman and smokes a cigarette.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
You know what? I would please elaborate. I know it's your favorite part of this entire series. Please elaborate.
Oh, the fact that this woman comes and brings him flowers. And they're all like, oh, she likes him. And he's like, I'm a changed man. I'm in love now. And he like leaves with her. And they go on this date and no one's like, grooming, reap, grooming. No, they're just like, this is fine. So he takes her to an Italian restaurant. They're eating outside and he's got a cigarette. Like he's holding a cigarette. And of course we find out he's Nosferatu, like shapeshifted Nosferatu, which like, where did Max go? Is he in the trunk of the car?
Yeah, because you're right. Max leaves the house. She comes up to the house with flowers. Max leaves with her. And then just like later in the episode, Max meets Nosferatu in the shape of Max. But you're right. For this entire date, I don't know, like...
How long was Max Nosferatu?
Maybe Max just went to the bathroom? I don't know. Like, he's just gone. But yeah, I like that in the episode, Gustav is like, hey, Max, you can't date a grown woman. And no one's like, hey, grown woman, you can't date a 10-year-old boy. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, like, you know, they're just like, Max, like when you're grown up. But it's like, are we not concerned that this lady showed up? Like, it wasn't like when you have like your cool, like your cool aunt come over or whatever. And you're like a little kid and you're like, oh, infatuated with her. It wasn't like she showed up like with flowers and shit for this child. And then she took him out to an Italian restaurant. Like, it was definitely like, it wasn't like a fun, like older adult friend, like taking the kid for the afternoon thing. It was like a date.
Yeah. Like, let's go to a movie, ice cream or something, like a kid date. It was like, let's go to an Italian restaurant and talk about politics and eat steak and smoke our cigarettes. And no one was like, holy shit, this is grooming. They were all like, oh, it's so cute.
Yeah. And I like how when the Dr. Cross, when the lady vampirist is like, I'm not super comfortable with looking like a pedophile in public. He's like, okay, well, what about? And he's like, bloop, 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 and he turns into Gustav, and she's like, being with an old man is not markedly better. I mean, it's not, it's not a crime, but I don't love it. And then he's like, oh, okay, and then he becomes himself. I'm like, those were your only options, child, old man, or Nosferatu.
You are sitting in a public restaurant.
And people can see you. Yeah.
And people can see you. Yeah. It's fine. He can make volcanoes erupt. It's fine. It's fine. And all these people are vampires. It's fine.
I feel like whatever's going on in Luxembourg, like this is not the first vampire Italian date that these people have seen this week. So they're just like, oh, another one of those. Okay. Hey, Nosferatu. Like they're just like, whatever. So then we get to my absolute fucking I know we were like skipping around a little bit because like most of the other episodes, like you learn a little bit of lore. You don't see Ger. I don't give a shit. Like the kids almost get murdered by Dracula. Dracula at the last minute is like, I declare truce. And then, they just go back to normal. So who cares?
Yeah.
So we get to episode 6, Black Sheep, which is the big Ger episode where you learn that Ger's character Klaus is the son of Gustav. And you get all this fucking heart-rending family drama in this goofy Scooby-Doo vampire show. And I love it so much because it, like you said earlier, it goes so balls to the wall. It goes so hardcore. In this show that like otherwise is like, what's the mystery of the week? Do vampires like poppy seeds now? Like it's just, it's mind-blowing. Okay, so we start this episode with a man, his name is Mr. Jaeger. He is mourning his dead wife, Amelia. He's at her grave, and we learn a little bit of lore, which I feel like I have heard some variation of this, like in some other vampire thing. But the lore is that if you put if you grow wild rose bushes over somebody's grave, that a vampire cannot like move them to dig underneath to like get the corpse. Or like, I guess the other way around, the corpse can't come up.
I think that's in Dracula too.
Yeah, I feel like I remember.
I think that's in Dracula. I think they put wild roses in their rooms.
That sounds familiar. But so the husband is there at the widower is there at the grave. He's mourning his wife. And he's like, I thought all you had was a fever and I should have taken you to doctors. I should have done more. And this man is like really selling it. He's like weeping at her grave. All of a sudden, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. There's a bat. Who could that be? And it's Ger having like the best fucking time. Like I love when he's clearly like having
the spin reveal, the like the jazz spin he does, like ha 'tis I.
I love how when you go bat to man or man to bat, either way, they're like, we want you guys to do a full on figure skater little jazzy dance. And Ger's like, I am on it. I got this. Ta-da! Sass. And I'm just like, so good. So he shows up.
And his laugh in this where he's like,
I love that there's like times like when he's acting, like he's great, right? We love him. He does a great job.
Yeah.
But when he's actually having so much fucking fun and goes up to like a 16, like it's my favorite thing. So in this, he's going up to like an 85 out of 10. Yeah. He's just having a great time. He jazz dances out of bat form. He shows up. So the man is talking to the grave, to Amelia in the grave. And he's like, I know that you're waiting. Like, I know Klaus bit you. I know Klaus turned you into a vampire. I know you're waiting for Klaus to release you. I will not allow it. Like, I'm keeping you in your grave where you're safe, with these wild roses on top. And Klaus goes, well, Mr. Jaeger, I thought you would have had enough of this place after Amelia's funeral today. Like, he's just going full on, like, tent by fingers evil and, like, having such a great time. And Mr. Jaeger is like, you can't get her. The wild roses protect her from you. And Klaus is like, well, yes, if she were in her grave. You see, Amelia was very anxious to be with her own kind. You're guarding an empty grave. And then he does, like you said, the insane Ger laughter and then turns into a bunch of bats. And I was like, so good. So fucking messed up. I love it so much. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. Did you think your wife was in there? No, I'm Garrett Wynne Davies. I want her. I took her.
I got bunch of bats and flies away. Did we talk about how he said, who's going to stop me? You, and as they say, whose army?
Which is a Debbie line.
Which is Which is what Divya says, which canonically I now believe is a reference to Dracula the series.
I choose to believe that that Klaus and Divya hung out is what I choose.
Yes, yeah. I want Catherine, the actress who played Divya, to have watched this growing up and been like, I got the line.
There's really no version of this not being self-referential that does not tickle my heart very deeply and intimately.
Yeah.
So okay. So yeah, you and as they say, whose army? I wrote Divya line in my notes. So Ger. So the funny thing is so when anyone else in this show,
You and as they say, army. I was trying to be stealthy. Keep talking, babe.
I feel so bad for Catherine Long because like I know that she doesn't actually have gremlin voice, but like
it's Divya. I'm not making fun of Catherine Long. I'm making fun of Divya. Okay, fucking Divya.
I don't think she's doing a voice. I think that's her actual speaking voice. So Mr. Jaeger is like, I'm going to kill you, Klaus. I'm going to get you. So Jaeger somehow knows that Gustav is a vampire hunter. So he keeps going to him this episode. And he's like, whatever I have to pay you, whatever I have to do I need to give you weapons or money or like whatever I have to like make happen for you to kill Klaus? And Gustav's like, no, thanks. No, I'm not going to. It's really dangerous to try and hunt a vampire. And the guy's like, aren't you a vampire hunter? And he's like, on weekends, I don't know, just no thank you.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, so like we don't know like what's going on, and it's like you've been so gung-ho about hunting vampires, like you've been in the room with Klaus before and nothing, you didn't like, there's no reason why you couldn't hurt him. What's going on? So then we find out, so then we have a scene where Gustav goes to warn Klaus, essentially, that this old man, that Mr. Jaeger is hunting him. And Ger shows up. So he's wearing the Nehru-collar. He's wearing the tuxedo. He's wearing what I can only describe as Snoopy as Joe Cool, perfectly round black sunglasses.
Yes.
It's like, it's the middle of the night and you're a vampire. Why are you? Stealthy. You know what? Like, I like it because it's so ridiculous. It's so stupid looking. It's so stealthy. Yeah. Sir, you're wearing a full-on tuxedo in the middle of a field. Like, stealth has left the building.
Yeah.
Stealth is gone. But I like also that he like, they do that thing where like in a spy movie, you have two people sitting next to each other in public, but they're looking different directions and like pretending not to talk to each other. And I'm like, again, you're in an empty field next to a broken down like stone wall from like the Roman era in the middle of the night. Why are you going full on like Cold War spy movie? But you know what? It's fine because I like it. Like as a vibe, I like it so much. But like in terms of what is actually happening, it makes no fucking sense. So, Nehru-collar and sunglasses. It's so fucking stupid. So, so then Ger ends up. So Jaeger like essentially knew a spot that Ger was going to be at. Ger gets warned by his dad Gustav. Ger calls off the meeting, and Jaeger's like, I smell bullshit. Something's going on here. So Paul Jaeger is his full name. He goes and he threatens Gustav. He's like, if you're protecting Klaus, I will fucking kill you. So then we find out that it's St. George's Eve, which again, they just like every episode, they're like, what if we make up a new bit of lore?
It's a full moon on George. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, it's a full moon on St. George's Eve. So I guess on a regular St. George's Eve, there are blue flames above hidden buried treasure, because in this vampires are also leprechauns and they bury treasure all over the fucking place for no fucking reason. Yeah. And then like on St. George's Eve, I guess if you like go outside and you see a blue flame shooting out of the ground, that's
a vampire treasure.
Me Lucky Charms, my buried treasure, whatever. So, but if it's a full moon, then on St. George's Eve, then in addition to the blue flame thing, which still holds, the vampires all have to go back to their original tomb, to like where they were originally buried, right?
To lay there, yeah.
Yeah, to like hang out. They have to have a night in. They have to like put on their bunny slippers and their bathrobe and just, you know, just chill at home. So Gustav knows this because, you know, he's no dummy. So he goes to the Helsing crypt. He waits in.
Wait. You missed my favorite part in this episode. No, tell me. And it's when the kids are all sitting together and the girl and Max are like spouting vampire lore at the older brother. And every question he has, they have an answer for it. And he goes, how do you guys know all this stuff? And they just go, and they look at each other and just start laughing. And they don't answer the question. And they don't tell us how they know it. And there's like multiple times during the whole, this is the first time in it, but we do it multiple times through the series where someone will be like, how do you know this? And they're like,
well, I know at some point, like Max gets, doesn't Gustav give Max like ye old big book of vampire lore?
He gives them a book, but like, why does the girl know all this stuff?
Because she's like the junior vampire hunter.
Is that what she's studying in school?
So
I just think it's really funny that they mention the fact that everybody seems to have knowledge of all of this stuff all of the time.
Oh yeah,
except
no, they're aware
characters.
that this is all horseshit. Yeah,
yeah.
Everyone knows that vampires exist, except nobody knows that vampires exist. Yeah, that's the world that the show lives in.
Right. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, great. I'm glad we had a moment where we were like, how do these kids know all this stuff?
Yeah. It's like that scene at the end of Forever Night where Ger's like, wait, how did Divya survive in the tomb with no blood and her head off? And Lacroix's like, doesn't really fucking matter, does it? And Ger's like, no, I guess not. All right, move on.
He's like, meh, she's here, isn't she? Yeah. Yep. All right, and rolling on. Okay. All right. Good. No, continue.
Yeah.
He goes to the crypt. The giant crypt that says Helsing over top of it that's like in the middle of a park. It's like a playground. There's a basketball court, and then there's like the Helsing crypt. And it's like
it's so good. It's so fucking good. But that is a good point. Like I have no idea. I like how her parents sent Sophie to live with Gustav because it's like near a school that she will never attend. She's maybe studying violin, which she like practices sometimes at home when she's bored. And also she's a junior vampire hunter just by like dint of living near Gustav. I fucking guess. Yeah. It makes the show gives zero shits, except like we said, when it comes to Klaus, and then they give all the shits times 10. So we are at the crypt. Yeah. Gustav is like, what if I just crouch down a little bit and immediately invisible? So Ger comes in, he does this little like ta-da dance because he has to do a ta-da dance. Blah, blah, blah. So he comes in and somehow Gustav, like, so you know how that thing where like you can trap like a demon or a vampire or an evil spirit by like making like salt, like making a salt circle. Somehow he does this, but with holy water. And I'm like, wouldn't it dry up eventually? Yeah. But I'm overthinking it. So he makes a little water circle around Ger, and Ger's like, no, thank you. And then they have this. Okay, so they end up having this like huge emotional discussion, which is so much more than what this children's show deserved, and I fucking love it. So Gustav traps Ger. So Ger like can't even sit down. He can't go anywhere. He has to stand in this crappy little circle. And Gustav goes, I have been waiting 13 years for this night. So I guess it's been 13 years since. Okay. So at first I was like, oh, he's been a vampire 13 years. No, it has been 13 years since the last full moon on St. George's Eve. So his son has been a vampire for at least 13 years in one day. Like at least like longer than this. And you're just like, oh, holy fucking shit. I've been waiting 13 years for this night. So he does the little water trap somehow. And Ger's like, Dracula took me to make me immortal. He's going like full on like Shakespeare.
He's like, he wanted to gift me with immortality. He's like, no, man, it's just because you're my son.
He said, and it's so heartbreaking. Like Bernard Behrens didn't have to also go full balls to the wall, but like he and Ger like had some kind of agreement together. They're like, go insane. Yeah, let's do this. And it's this emotional father-son heartbreaking trauma. Like,
right. Cause then he goes, your son, and he like blinks and we lose the vampire eye contacts.
Yeah. For just a hot second.
Yeah. And then he's like, shakes his head and then he's like back and he's like, no, I'm a vampire. Like, I want to be like this. Your son is dead. Yeah. And you're like,
and then Gustav goes, I should stake you right now and set your soul free, but I cannot do it. And Ger's like, oh, too much of a coward. And he goes, no, too much of a father. Oh.
And we are interspersing this with the kids who fixed a radio and can now overhear cell phone signals and are digging in the park because Dracula's fucking with them. Like, here's these two dudes that are like, you're my son and I can't kill you no matter what you've become. And he's like, I'm not your son anymore. Your son is dead. But then you get that moment where you're like, he is his son
when
for
he
like
has
a
the little
second.
like the blink throughs,
and then he goes back to vampire. And in the meantime, they're like, oh my God, Max, are you going to shovel or what? And you're
where's
like,
the buried treasure? And it's just like, no, go.
I can't handle the whiplash.
Let's go
What
back to
is
the Shakespeare in the
happening
park.
right now?
Fuck these fucking kids. I hope dogs tear them to pieces. Like, I don't care.
This is when we get the please
oh.
don't. Where he's like, please don't leave. And he leaves.
Well,
and he's like, come back,
before,
Dad.
so in the middle. Okay, so this is like 3 layers of heartbreaking trauma, goofy shit, heartbreaking trauma, goofy shit. So like you said, we've got the kids in the park being like, where's the treasure? And it's like, okay, you're being, I don't, no more of you. No, too much. And then we have the Ger and his father, are you too much of a coward to kill me? No, I'm too much of a father. And then Ger is like, I'll tear you to rags. Dracula will free me. And then I'm going to kill you myself. Like he's just, but like, you're right. So he's like full vampire, except for the one moment where Bernard Behrens is like, I am your dad and you are my son and I miss you. And like, whatever, I'm going to cure you. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to bring you back. And you see like that mask fall off Ger's face for like just a hot fucking second. And it's like, just gut punch.
Yeah.
And so then Dracula shows up. And again, in this show, Dracula can't go to the kid's house because of the Cross of the Magyars. But he can go to any other fucking house on the block. That whole you have to be invited in thing does not seem to apply at all. He just goes wherever he wants. So he like pops up inside the tomb and he's like, hey, what's up? He sees Paul Jaeger, who has shown up and is like, holy shit, Gustav and Klaus are working together. He's like, I'll kill you. So Mr. Jaeger tries to shoot a fucking crossbow bolt, which is huge, at Bernard Behrens, at Uncle Gustav. And Dracula's like, ta-da, and he pops up and he stops the bolt from killing his mortal enemy, Gustav, for no fucking reason. And I was just like, what? Like, is this like payment for like some truce fund?
Yeah,
they're like, so I don't like the enemies to lovers trope, but it's the only thing that makes sense. The end of this fucking show is like, does Dracula want to fuck this old man? Like, why?
Yeah.
What is this weird relationship that's happening where he's like, I'll kill you, wink.
Because he's no threat. He's just fun. Like, he just gives him something to do. It's fine. Yeah. It gives him somebody to fuck with. It gives him somebody to... So if somebody else kills him, it's no fun. Dracula has to be the one to kill him.
He is just fun. Yeah, he likes the chase, I guess. He likes the hunt. I get, yeah, maybe that's what it is. So he's like, Mr. Jaeger, nope. And he like does that thing with his hand where he like palms the guy's face and like guy just goes, and like falls over. He's like, denied. Which I love. And then Ger's like, oh, holy shit. Oh, it's my best friend. It's my secret boyfriend, Dracula. Are you going to move the water circle? Are you going to like nudge it out of the way so I can kill my dad? Are you going to kill my dad? Like he's like Scrappy-Doo. He's like, come on, Dracula. And Dracula's like, you know how I told you to stop fucking sucking the blood out of every woman within 300 miles? And Ger's like, no. And Dracula's like, yeah, that's the thing that I said. And you're also not a very good personal assistant. So... yeah, no, please continue, Gustav. Please continue to do whatever magic voodoo you're going to do. Ger, you're fired. Fuck you. I'm going to peace out and go back to my tomb because as we all know, it's a full moon on St. George's Eve. So I bid you adieu. And then he like swoops out of there. And I was like, what? Fucking no. Just makes no sense, but I love it. And then this is where, like you said, Ger gets really like super emotional and panicky. And he tries to basically pretend to be like the human man he once was. He's doing whatever he can to try and convince his dad, like, don't leave me here. So he's like trying to convince his dad. He's like, don't leave me here. I'm all by myself. Like, I'm alone. I can't, like, you're going to trap me in this tomb. Don't do this to me. And he's like, please. And then he like screams, please, at the top of his lungs. He's like, please. And Uncle Gustav, his father, is like, this is the only way that I can keep you safe until I can cure you. And he walks out. And he takes the this giant fucking cross and he goes schlink through the through like the little the hasp, is that the word? The hasp of the lock outside. And he's like, this will double keep you in. And then he fucks off. And like that's where we leave that episode. We like have some more with the kids, but who gives a shit about the kids?
Yeah, who gives a shit about the kids?
But it's like oh my God, like this giant I like how Ger is exactly on the line between so over the top that it's kind of goofy, but also
it's the last one. The please don't.
the little please. Yeah. Oh, like I'm afraid and I'm alone. Like, don't do this to
Yeah.
me. As the tomb
The
door
scared little
swings
boy
shut.
voice. Yeah, the scared little boy voice. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just,
This lends whole new meaning to the episode where Max accidentally drinks Gustav's vampire cure because he thinks it's a protein shake.
yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, the show like goes back and forth about like what will cure them, what won't cure them, like what does work, what doesn't. Like, because, oh no, you're right. He does. I was gonna say, I don't know if we know that the potion actually cures vampires, but when Gustav gets bitten, doesn't he get some more of the potion? Isn't that?
Yeah, they have one more leaf. They have enough
Yeah.
to make one, and then Max drinks it because he's like, I'm gonna work out, and he's got the like beer jug helmet. And you're like, I drink the vampire cure on accident, and then they come back and they have one more leaf, and they use it to cure Gustav,
That's right. Yeah.
and then they have no more because that plant's extinct.
Yeah, you're right. No, that does make it like extra heartbreaking in retrospect. Like he had his son that he wanted to cure. Because it does seem like if you're bitten, there's like a short period of time where you can just pop some holy water on those wounds and like you're good.
Yeah,
And then for whatever reason in this episode, or in the episode that you're discussing, where Gustav gets bitten, it's also a short period of time, but for some reason they feel like we also, in addition to the holy water on the wounds, we also need to give him the magic potion.
well, it's because they leave him down in the dungeon for a while. It's got
Was he
time
down there?
to-
Is that what it was? Like enough time has passed.
Yeah.
Maybe that makes more sense. But like Ger has been a vampire for at least 14-ish years. So yeah, I guess the holy water on the neck won't work. But it is so heartbreaking, and it's like you guys didn't know or didn't care what kind of goofy bullshit Scooby-Doo nonsense show you were in, and you instead gave me Shakespeare. What if Shakespeare but vampires is like what you give me, and it's so fucking like it had no reason to go this balls to the wall. It had no reason to be this good, and instead they're like, you know what? Fuck it, let's do this. And they're all in on it.
Yeah.
So the second the kids are not on screen, it's Shakespeare and corporate espionage and like a little bit no homo, wink, homo, like definitely homo. Like I love it so much. And then like you said, like that tiny little please don't leave me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
You're like, wow.
I just like I know that most of this podcast is just us horny for a horny Ger performance.
I mean,
but I just really would love more people to have watched Dracula the series, like partly because it's like a thing I loved as a kid, but like just watch this performance by Ger and like tell me that you don't think he's an amazing actor. Like tell me, you know what I mean? Like it's so good.
Even the laugh, it fits the character. It's fine. It's fine.
It's so insane. And then we end up having my favorite. So the next episode is called "What a Pleasant Surprise" for no fucking reason. I love how they just pick titles out of their butt. It is my second favorite episode. So I love all the Ger episodes, obviously, but then we end up having this episode all about an actor, a famous silent film actor who was famous for playing vampires, and then he ends up becoming a vampire, and like he comes back is essentially like the thing.
Yeah.
And it's also so balls to the wall heartbreaking for this stupid fucking kids show. And this character is only in this one episode and then he dies and like you never see him again.
Yeah.
But like didn't you say that you saw this actor in something else?
Yeah,
like
he's in Waterworld.
This makes me want to watch Waterworld. Like I've never seen Waterworld, but because of
he's
this
in
one
it
actor,
really briefly. He's like this crazy guy that they meet in this boat and he ends up negotiating trading paper for half an hour with the woman on the boat. And so he starts going half an hour. Sometimes we do that on the podcast. We'll go half an hour. Matt will go half an hour. And it's from Waterworld. So that's that character.
I will finally have to watch Waterworld. And just because this one guy, like, I don't know what else he's been in. I don't even know what the name of this actor is, but he does such a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
And again, like deeply heartbreaking. So the idea is, okay, so that there's a movie theater in the town and Gustav and Max are going to watch a black and white movie and Gustav is like super into it. He's like, oh my God, this actor, Jonas Carey, he was this famous black and white screen actor like 60 years ago. He's dead and gone, but like, I love his movies. And Max is like, ugh, it's the 90s. I'm not watching a black and white movie. I'm a cool preteen. Like,
yeah.
And so we end up finding out that Jonas Carey didn't die. We end up finding out that Dracula turned him into a vampire. And then for reasons I don't remember, maybe you remember, Dracula locks this guy in the movie theater.
Yeah.
Like imprisons him somehow, like in the screen, kind of like he magically imprisons him, because the movie theater is still running. Like people watch movies there all the time, but like he's not just like hanging out at the concession stand. He's like magically imprisoned somehow.
Yeah.
So
he's sealed.
Yeah. So somehow, I think like the amount of, oh, that's right. So he was sealed for 60 years. So I guess we've like hit the 60-year mark and the curse is like broken, is kind of the way that I interpreted it. So he comes back. He sees Gustav, who is there alone for reasons. I think if I remember right, Gustav knows the movie theater has some significance to Dracula. And so he's like,
Dracula's trying to buy it. Dracula's trying to buy it, and he's buying it for like 3 times the market price. So Gustav is like, I must stop him. And so he tries to go to City Hall to get it rezoned so that he can't buy it.
Declared like a historic
declared a
monument
historic
that cannot be destroyed. Yeah.
And then in the end, he goes there for some reason. Like he's tweaked his back and he goes there and he ends up like falling and he can't get up because his back hurts or whatever.
Yes. And it's when he's on the ground on his back and like paralyzed basically is when Jonas Carey kind of pops up out of nowhere. And he's dressed like he was dressed when he was playing a vampire on screen. So he's got the full on Dracula widow's peak. He's got the little cape and everything. And he shows up. And Gustav is like super excited. And then he's like, wait a minute, didn't you die 60 years ago? And the guy's like, nope. And he's like, oh shit. So then we find out that that Jonas is now an actual vampire, but he cannot bring himself to bite Jonas because he never liked blood and he never liked violence. And he still doesn't now. And he's like, I can't. Like, I'm not a very good vampire. I just can't do it. And so Jonas and Gustav have like a heart-to-heart. They hang out and they talk. And Gustav does what we did to Ger, which is basically just she fangirls all over him.
Yeah.
Just like, I loved you. He's like, I, in the height of my fame, it was right before the talkies. And I was afraid that so I tried to get into the talkies and the movie studio was like, you don't have a voice for talkies. So your whole career is about to be over. And so the guy panics and Dracula takes advantage of him. And Dracula's like, you're afraid of being forgotten, but this will make you the greatest star of all. And the guy's like, okay, like bite away. And then we find out some more vampire lore, which is in this universe, vampires cannot be photographed or filmed. It'll never come up again, like every other piece of vampire lore. But for 10 minutes, it
does come up again.
When does it come up again?
In the final episode.
That he can't be filmed?
That no one can take pictures of them. And at one point, somebody tries to take a Polaroid of Dracula and it doesn't work.
I don't remember that part. Maybe because I only ever fast forward to the end to watch the Ger scene. I'll have to, okay, when we get there. Okay, so it comes up. I was corrected. It comes up one more time.
Right.
Unlike
it's because
all the rest of the vampire
It's
lore.
when Klaus is like, I think the reason I can't figure out why vampires are immortal is because I'm not thinking of time as the thing that's not moving. He's like, they are actually outside of time and space, and that's why they can't be photographed. Max is like, oh, is that why they can't be photographed? And Klaus is like, yes, because they're not actually in this universe.
Am I outside of time and space? I don't remember any of this conversation happening at all.
Well, that's because then Dracula's like, you are correct. And he's like, whoa, and he opens his fireplace and he's like, this is my portal outside of time. And they're like, oh my God, I knew I was right. Yeah.
I remember, the spoiler alert, I remember the fireplace that opens up into a space beyond time and space. And it's just a big glowing fireplace hole. I remember that. I don't remember any of the conversations before that. I just remember Ger and his sweet tennis outfit, which we will get to. We will get to next week. Spoiler alert. We'll get to that.
Those are teasers. We're just teasing for next week.
All I'm going to say is I love the softer side of Sears' tennis version of Ger. I love it so much. Okay, we'll get there. Okay, so we have my second heartbreaking part of the first 7, which is we've got Jonas Carey. He's like, I was afraid I was going to be left behind. I was going to be forgotten. Dracula's like, I sense a vulnerable person. Like, ta-da, here I am. So he bites the guy, and then the guy realizes that vampires cannot be photographed. So he goes, I swore revenge on the vampire who made me. Maybe that's why Dracula imprisons him, because he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I heard you swearing revenge on me for fucking you over.
So
fuck me.
Get in the screen, you asshole. No,
the show is so dumb.
It's just Dracula being Dracula. It's fine.
Yeah. So
there doesn't need to be a motive.
Dracula somehow, like, I guess he knew the exact night that the 60-year curse would be over. So he pops up in the movie theater in the balcony, and he and Jonas Carey have what I can only describe as a ham off, because they both are so They both go full like theatrical, like black and white movie. How over the top can I get before I burn up the film that I'm on?
Yeah.
Basically. So they start like swishing their fangs around, their cape around. It's so over the top. I fucking love it. So they end up having a fight on stage, and they're like slowly grappling each other the way that, like, have you ever seen like a nature documentary with beetles, when beetles fight and they're like, they're going at it, but they're going at it like very slowly.
Yeah.
It's kind of what happens here. So they end up having a fight. Somehow, I don't remember how, maybe you remember how, but somehow Gustav helps Jonas win the fight, and Dracula's like, all right, fuck the both of you, I'm leaving. So he flies off. So then, okay, I wrote this down verbatim, or as close as I could get, because it broke my fucking heart. So Dracula leaves. We have Jonas, and somehow with Dracula leaving, the back door of the movie theater like pops open. So it's like the curse is extra super gone. So if Jonas wanted to, he could like just get up and walk out and leave and be free and try to figure out how to be a vampire, even though he's like afraid of blood and he doesn't like violence. But instead, Jonas goes, I was meant to be a gentler monster, a creature to dream of, perhaps, but never to meet. I longed to live forever, but I had no idea it came with such an irrepressible thirst. I'll settle for immortality on the screen, I think. And then he fucking stabs himself in the heart and he dies. And I was like, I'm like tearing up a little bit because, like, again, I know this is a children's show from 1990. I know he's a fake movie screen vampire, but this actor sells it so hard.
Why could we touch on these parts of vampirism in these shitty 90s vampire television shows and then never fucking do it again?
I don't know. This show was so much better than it had any right to be.
Why did we go from this to, like, I don't know, True Blood, vampires fuck each other all the time? Yeah, I don't know, vampires fuck each other all the time. Let's do that. And then we went on to the Vampire Diaries, where we're like, I think we'll have vampires and witches, and like we'll have a whole class of people who are vampire hunters who are actually a supernatural being that is compelled to kill vampires. What the actual shit? They just started making stuff up so that everybody could be a supernatural creature. I got so frustrated.
That's why when True Blood came out, sometime like after the first season or during the first season, I was like, oh, these are based on books. And I started reading the books. And I think there's maybe like 17. I don't know. I feel like there's fewer than 20, but there's a lot. So I started reading them. And the first couple, it's just Sookie and there are vampires. And I was like, okay, well, this is something. Okay. And then like every single book after the first like 5 or 6 was like, I don't know, were-tigers? I don't know. Fairies, I don't know, where jaguars,
no.
Sure. And I was like, okay, like I like the thing that makes me like monsters is not, oh, it's a new book and now there's a new kind of monster. Like if Sookie fucked Gilman, I wouldn't be like, oh, this is something new. Like I like monsters because monsters are people. Monsters are
you get the guy who's like, I was meant to be a gentler monster. I can't do this.
Yeah.
And you get that in this 90s TV show. Like you get it in Forever Night. And then it's like, what like we can't, y'all, that's what in this shitty 1990s television show, in episode 7, this one guy is like, I want an entire television show about this guy.
Yes.
Like,
right. I would watch a whole series.
I would watch the shit out of that. And yet we get like, no, I don't know. I'm not going to go.
He's literally just a guest star for one fucking episode of this children's show filmed in Luxembourg. Like he was there for like a week. And he's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to fucking ruin these children for the rest of their lives. Ready? Like, here I go. And I'm just like, okay. So we just had the Ger episode where he's like dealing with Shakespearean family trauma.
Yeah.
And then we go straight to, what if we have this actor who made this Faustian bargain that he can no longer bear to live with, and he kills himself in front of this old man? The end, children. And I was like,
next week on our plucky television show.
Right?
God.
Right? And then the episode ends. The only other thing of note is like, so again, the kid's mom she's never there. We don't give a shit. She's like, oh, I have a meeting in Madrid.
She comes back
Fucking
in this
bye.
episode, doesn't she?
She comes back in this episode
Yeah.
for like 2 seconds at the end. And Dracula has lunch with her. And it's sort of like, so even though we've already had an episode where Dracula meets the mom, bites the mom, turns her into a vampire for like 35 seconds, just to like fuck with his family. Now, all of a sudden, there's like this series long plot where he's going to try to like turn the mom, I guess, more permanently. The mom who like has no recollection of Dracula. Like she knows Alexander Lucard because he's like this famous billionaire.
Yeah. Well, I think it's
guy.
next episode where she becomes a vampire. Damsel in distress.
Oh, maybe. That's
Damsel
right. The whole,
distress.
she's like, I want to take the kids to the zoo. But it's like the whole, so she's like not in any episode. And then all of a sudden it's like the plot is that we're going to try and like turn mom. Because we do turn her in episode 8. She comes back to human. And then I know that like throughout this series, she ends up going on some dates with Ger's character. Because it's like, we're like trying to bring the mom over to our side. And it's like, why? She's like barely a I mean, like she never shows up. So like the idea of like, oh no, my mom's in danger. Like it would matter if you ever saw the mom and like cared about the mom. But like I could give less of a shit about the mom. Like she pops up. She's like, I'm off to a business meeting in Spain. Fuck off. Don't die. All right. See you in 6 weeks. I'm going to get a Spanish boyfriend. Ciao. Like who cares?
Adios.
But it's like the rest. Yeah. Klaus is like, I wanted her and I could not have her. And I'm like, Ger, did you just write that line yourself? I know it's a fictional character, but I don't get it. There's a woman and I'm here. I'm Get On Twin Davies. Like, what up? So I just, like, this show it's uneven in like the most glorious way. Like, it's like goofy Scooby-Doo bullshit with these kids. And like, there's like a new bit of lore and like some new weird makeup and like nothing is consistent and like nothing fucking matters. And there's a mom sometimes who cares. And then the older brother wants to be a musician and he's also really into sports. And then the Sophie Metternich girl is sort of into the older brother and the older brother's sort of into her, but they're 16-year-olds and it's 1990. So like, they don't know how to act on their feelings. Uh-oh, like, will they, won't they? Who cares? You're children. I give negative 5 shits is how many shits I give about you. And then we have like Plucky Max and Uncle Gustav, and they're gonna, solve vampire crimes. And Max is 10, so he's just real fucking dumb. So he's just riding around on his bicycle, like making shit worse by his very presence. You're just like, okay, I know you're 10, but like be less of a 10-year-old because you're giving me like full 10-year-old. Like it's too much. It's so plucky. Like you and your little like nylon 1990s baseball hat. Like you're exhausting.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the show is like, oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to use that heart again? Well, you shan't. Crush it. It's like, oh no.
I take it from you.
Yeah. It's just like, oh my God. Oh. And then like, they're like, you don't even need to know like where in Europe you are. Like that's how little this show gives a shit. They're like, I don't know, Europe. Where are they? Europe. I told you, they're just all of Europe.
Europe, the country. God damn it, keep it straight.
Yeah. All that we know is that it's not Madrid because mom is always taking trips to Madrid. So like I know it's definitely not Madrid. Also on account of everyone's like speaking German but with a British accent and there's like French milk. Like, it's like what? I just like. I literally for years was like, this show could not have existed. It's clearly a fever dream I had when I was like 6. I made it up in my head. It never happened. And then when we started doing this podcast, I was like, it's real. This was real. This was a real thing. Yeah. It aired on real television.
2 things can be true. It can also be real and a fever dream all at the same time.
It is such a beautiful fever dream. And I'm so excited to finish this discussion next week and to discuss the latter 2/3 of this whole show. Like the middle part, like we're going to yada yada, like I said, because Ger doesn't show up and like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
There are no, as far as I'm aware, there are no more scenes of adult vampires pretending to be 10-year-old boys who are on horny dates with adult women. So
not that I'm aware of yet, but I'll let you know if I find one.
I mean, maybe we'll both be surprised. I mean, I didn't remember any of the dialogue from the final episode, so maybe I missed more very adult 10-year-old boys. I'm a grown man. No, you are 10. You are stop it. It's weird. Stop it.
I'm excited for the natural follow-up to the Ger Can Get It podcast where we do all the vampire shit we want to do, and then we just rant about vampires for hours.
It would be an impossible. I mean, I am here for it. Fucking obviously, I've been mentioning this to you since literally the first minute we met because it's my dearest dream. But like, there's no way that we'd be able to edit that. Each episode would be 6 hours long, and it would sound like
you don't edit that. You just
tapes.
put a song at the end, you put a song at the beginning, and you just put it up, and people just get what they get because there's no way we could not. No, you just let it roll. It's fine.
Oh my God, have you heard this podcast that these two crazy bitches did? Each episode is 9 hours long. You can actually hear them putting red string on a corkboard.
Look,
somewhere.
if you can't be famous, be infamous. Okay? That's
Oh my God.
That's my motto.
I support this. I want this to happen. I mean, it would be like, although we've already had the Vamping It with Meg episode on Coming 81 Kilo.
Yeah, which is a really popular episode.
You did all of the Forever Night TV series. We don't ever stop talking about Forever Night during this series, where we are now talking about another vampire show. Like, it would be. We would have to. I mean, like, I'm not against that. Obviously, I'm not
you
against,
got the vampire book
it.
of vampire movies that we need to start at page 1 and work our way through. Yeah,
it is. It is something I've considered, in my spare time.
I've considered.
Possibly.
Yeah, no, we're gonna do it. Yeah. Come on, it's fine.
Don't do this to me. Don't do to me because I am very much like Penny in this way. If you're like, no, we're gonna do a vampire podcast, like it is happening.
Meg,
my little heart.
What about my past behavior would lead you to believe that I am joking?
The fact that it's impossible.
It's not impossible. You just do it one episode at a time.
Yeah.
We tackled Forever Night. We can tackle this.
This is true. Although, like, when we first talked about it, I started looking up some of the, like, because the book is is in chronological order. I started looking up some of the earlier stuff, and it's like apocryphal. It's like, we have heard that in Hungary in 1942 they filmed a Dracula movie entirely in American Sign Language. It's just like it's like there was one copy made and given to a blind man who couldn't enjoy it because it was a silent movie. And then both the blind man was shot and the movie was set on fire. And his whole village was burned to the ground. Like it's like it's like I remember like because we had talked about it a little bit. Instead of doing Ger Can Get It, we were going to do a whole vampire thing, and I was like, okay, like let me see what's findable. And like the first like 65 pages are like, we've only heard whispers of this movie, no one's ever seen it. And I was like, come on, guys, like
we do the ones we can find. Come on, there's plenty of vampire movies out there.
I'm sure, yeah. Well, that's the problem though. Is like for Ger Can Get It and for Coming 81 Kilo and for Vamping Out, like we got to talk about the good vampire stuff, but like let's be honest, like the good vampire stuff is few and far between, and the horse
and people need to know
mountains.
How bad that shit is. We need to talk about how bad it is and how good it could be.
What you're saying is it's a public service.
Yes, this is a public service announcement. People need to know what vampire fans want, clearly, because they never give us what we want. So someone needs to say the quiet part out loud.
So what you're saying is if we didn't do the podcast, the world would be a poorer place.
Yes.
Is what I'm getting.
Yes. This is an enrichment for the, yeah. Some network executive is going to be like, y'all, these ladies got it. We need to give them what they want.
These weirdos won't shut up.
Yeah. And if we don't do it, how are they ever going to know?
That is true. So for the other vampire fans, for the other deeply upset vampire fans who just want quality and have been not receiving quality since the 90s, it would be, it's for society. It's for societal betterment.
We are doing this for you, just like we're doing this for you. Do you think we watch Ger every week just because we like it?
We're professionals.
We're
absolute professionals.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, we do actually because we like it. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
It can be two things.
Yeah, two things can be true.
Porque no los dos.
Yeah,
right?
porque no los dos. Yeah, exactly.
If I could encourage one other person to just check out like the Ger and the vampire screen actor, the episode called, what did I say? It's got a weird name. What a Pleasant Surprise.
Yeah.
So if I can even encourage anyone to check out What a Pleasant Surprise, and then the like 5 total, I think, Ger episodes.
The
of this
episodes
Dracula
are like
series.
15 minutes long.
They're so short.
They're so short.
They're 22 and they're 22 minutes long with a huge end credits. And then the opening credits are also like, it's the 90s. So they're enormous.
With the worst theme song I have ever heard in my life.
Track.
What?
I like how they were like, rapping is big, but our cast is entirely white. So what if we do white people 80s rap? They just went with it. Yeah.
We'll just repeat
Dracula. Fuck it. It's so dumb. I love it so much, but it's one of those shows where like, I feel like I have to be like, no, look beyond the surface. You're going to think it's dumb. It will mostly be dumb. It will mostly be what it seems like. But then there's these little golden nuggets inside these turds, and the gold is so pure and so rich, and
That's fair. Yeah,
such amazing acting, just heartbreaking. I love it so much. Okay, so I say that we save off on rating this until we have the entire series.
I think that's fair.
Although as of right now, what characteristics we've got? Him having a great time. Making the goofy smile. Yeah. The like, I'm having a good time.
The joke.
Wink at the audience smile.
The joke that I'm in on that everyone knows I'm in on.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think in the first 2 episodes, I don't think he kisses anybody.
He doesn't.
Yeah. But later he will go on some dates with the mom. So I'm hoping that when we rewatch it, he will kiss her hand and stare directly into her eyes, because I know that's his deal. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. And obviously he does that thing which we've determined is a characteristic, which is I show up in some goofy bullshit and I act so hard I blow everyone else away. So
and then the series gets canceled.
Yes. Well, at the end we will get to the other characteristic. Yeah. The I'm in a show. I'm like a guest star in a show. I show up in an episode that was not meant to be the series finale, and I act so fucking hard that the whole show disappears. And this is what I referenced in, I think, Frankie Drake, where I said that he has a lot of shows where he's not a main character. He shows up in the finale. He maybe dies, maybe doesn't die. Like the show kind of leaves it open. Like you don't know what's going to happen, because he does that in Frankie Drake. Spoiler alert, he does that in Dracula. And he does that in Forever Night, where the show could have kept him alive if it wanted to. Like it leaves just enough mystery. And then the whole show shuts the fuck down forever and ends in a giant cliffhanger to give you emotional blue balls for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Like, so again, Frankie Drake for adults, kind of. Forever Night for adults, definitely. Goofy Dracula for children. No notes. No notes. So when we get to the next 2/3, it is going to go even harder, balls to the wall, even crazier than this. And this is already the craziest, most wonderful shit we have talked about on this entire podcast. So if this whets your appetite at all, dear listeners, there might be 2 of you. I don't know. Maybe you're listening together.
Could be plural.
Yeah, it could be 2 of you. You could have multiple personalities. I don't know your deal. So if this whets your appetite at all, please, Dracula the series from 1990 to 1991. Sometimes they like talk about it like it's broken into 2 seasons, but it's just 1 season with like a finale at the end. I think there was just like a gap between some of the airing order of the episodes.
Yeah.
But just Google it, watch it on YouTube, go to Amazon, buy it for like $19. Like I'm obviously, as soon as we hang up, I'm going to be going to the draculatheseries.net website. And if there's a petition, I will be signing the shit out of that petition, because I want more of this like so badly. I love it. If there's some way that they can explain, like, I mean, Klaus goes at the end of the whole series, he goes into like a magic fireplace. Maybe he's 67 years old now. Maybe that's what the magic fireplace does.
We can make this work.
You don't know. You don't know.
You don't know.
Could you imagine with the original cast? Fucking like 40 years later, I love it so much. Okay. We'll talk more next week. We will. I think we got through all the characteristics that happen in this part. I need people to watch this show. I need them to like.
Well, they're going to have to, because we're going to cover the rest of it next week.
Yes. Yeah. It's sort of like the Bernstein Bears. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like the Mandela effect, like, it's real. This thing is a real show. Somehow nobody else knows about it. Somehow like nobody believes me, but it was real and I have proof. Like, please watch this show so I know that I'm not crazy. Audience of 1. Hey, Allie. Hey, Maria. What up? Anyways, so we will save our rating until next week. Until next time, friends. Bye.
Goodbye.